حي على الفلاح.
The issue of zina being a strong temptation, first of all, this was part of the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there will be temptations in this dunya. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم in Sahih Muslim and in the book of Bukhari, he says, I have not left any fitna behind me more harmful to men than women. What is the attitude you take from this? Is the attitude that we can be relaxed with each other, men and women? Or is the attitude that we should be extra precautious and extra careful, since this is the most harmful test, harmful fitna for men? Today, people come up with 1,001 different excuses behind why it's okay. We are working together. The hearts are pure. Nothing is wrong. She's like my sister. I'm her brother. Excuses for something that is, if you look at the hadith, it's severe now. We should stay far away from it. And if the companions who have the best hearts stayed away from it, who are we to say, Wallahi, the hearts are pure and everything is good and the weather is nice? Why is zina such a big deal? Allahu Akbar. It is such a big deal. When you look at what zina does to the society, it is a severe big deal, very big deal. But some people argue, what's the problem? The man and woman are both okay, and why is it your business if they do something like this? It is everyone's business, because now it becomes an issue that affects the society. If this becomes rampant, it affects the entire society. Let's start with the effects of zina on society as a whole. One of the big problems we have is that people don't know their lineage. A person will not know who his father is. Even the West, they've realized the danger of this, and they try to set up ways to determine the lineage of people. All these paternity tests, DNA tests. The other is that all these sexually transmitted diseases, from AIDS to herpes to all other kinds of illnesses. And we see that zina in society, when it becomes rampant, it actually leads to more zina. This is a study that was done in the United States. They found that 82% of teenage mothers are themselves the daughters of teenage mothers. We see also, these are other studies from the United States, that a male or a boy born to a young woman in her teens, a teenage mother, he's 3 times more likely to end up in prison. Some of the effects of zina on individuals in society, it leads to sexual deviance. So people are not satisfied quickly, and then they start to get crazier and crazier with their imagination. Also, what it does, it devalues intimacy later on with the spouse. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says zina, it encompasses all the characteristics of evil. He says lack of religious commitment, loss of taqwa, piety, lack of protective jealousy, ghira. A man, he will not feel ghira if that happens with his sister or even his mother. Like a man will tell you, oh, that's my mother's boyfriend. He has no ghira because he's doing this with people, with other people as well. And to earn someone the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It hardens the heart and just so much damage to an individual. What does zina being rampant in a society do to women? One of the problems is that they are physically matured and able to engage in that, but they're not mentally matured. So if it results in a child, that will be a very, very big problem, as we're going to see in a little bit. Even in a Western society that sees sexual activity for young children as okay, even there they face problems. So studies have shown that teenage mothers, they face isolation, they have low levels of education, they suffer from more stress than average, more depression than other people. This study in particular was done in Canada. For the women, what it does is that they learn that sex is all they're valued for. And so therefore, to be valued, they embrace this image and they develop it further. You understand? Maybe some of you will wonder, why are these women dressed like that? Why do they dress so badly? Because they were taught and trained from an early age that your value is equal to your sexuality. When it comes to the child, what is the result on the child? Out of wedlock and born to young mothers and born to teenagers, and they're the children of zina, they have a number of problems that they deal with. First of all, they typically have a life An early childhood filled with turmoil. A young mother has to work, leaves them at the babysitter, all kinds of issues that happen. So as a result of that, they learn that the world is a dangerous place. And they start to have problems connecting with other people. And they also become afraid of getting close to people. Anger issues as well have been seen and known. With the males, what happens is that a lot of times the male is not involved very deeply. And even if he wants to be involved, the family of the girl doesn't want anything to do with him. This is even in America, forget in a Muslim country. If he wants to be involved, he's pushed away. So the child now is missing the father figure. And even studies show, even when they allow the young man to be involved, within 2 years, he escapes. And we're seeing everyone being affected. We're trying to put the argument that it's a very harmful thing. And you can't make the argument that if a man and woman agree, what's the problem? It is my business. It's the society's business. And that's why the scholars say, if people commit zina, there is the right of Allah and the right of the community. Because this is damaging to us. So then how does Islam prevent zina? First of all, which is interesting, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He doesn't tell us don't commit zina. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't come near zina. What are some steps that will lead someone to zina? Talking, looking, touching, chatting, texting, all these things that could lead to it. So every stage that leads to zina, you will find that it is prohibited and blocked and haram, prohibited in Islam. It's famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is giving us the solution, one way to combat this problem. Whoever can provide the bare minimum now to open a home, then let him get married. And who is not able to provide that, then fast, and that will be a protection for you. How many of them fast? True story, this young man came to me in Canada. He said, listen, you guys, Imam, he said, you guys have to find us a solution for this. He said, it's summer, women are not dressed very well, we're not able to get married, we have school, we don't have money, this is a big problem. He says, don't tell me fast, don't tell me be patient, don't tell me lower the gaze. What do you want me to tell you? Eat bananas, what do you want me to tell you? And Nabi ﷺ gave you the solution. You ignore it and you said, give me another one. He gave you the best one. Prophet ﷺ came one day, he saw the men and women leaving the masjid, walking home. A man was walking here and some steps behind, a woman is walking in the middle of the road. So even though they're not talking to each other, the Prophet ﷺ said, the men walk in the middle, the women walk to the sides. The women had so much haya and taqwa, they would walk to the sides so much that their dress, their clothing would get snagged on the walls. That's how they used to walk. One day, Nabi ﷺ pointed to a door in the masjid. He said, we will leave this door for women. Nafi' says, Ibn Umar never ever again entered or came in from that masjid or left until he died. So this contact between men and women has guidelines and has limitations. And being alone with the woman, because that's one of the things that definitely will lead to zina. Being alone with the woman. And today people tell you what's wrong, it's natural. One guy tells me, I stayed with a woman, we studied together, nothing happened. So alhamdulillah, nothing happened. And it doesn't make it a rule. And so now everyone should just go and nothing will happen. And Nabi ﷺ explained that anytime a man is alone with a woman, who is the third one? The shaitan will be their third. So sitting alone with a woman, touching a woman. In Sahih Bukhari, Aisha radiallahu anha said, the hand of the Prophet ﷺ never touched the hand of a woman except a woman that he's married to, but never touched a woman. Because touching is also one of these things that can eventually lead to that. So Islam has successfully put the guidelines and the barriers to what might lead someone to committing zina. The people who are afraid of falling into zina, these people, the scholars say, hurry up and get married and live in any condition, but hurry up and get married. It's better for you than to fall into zina. The people who are okay, they're normal, they can fast, they can lower their gaze, they can keep themselves busy with activities, with durus, with sports, with memorization, all these things. Some of the scholars, this is Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he gives what I believe is very, very good advice. He used to tell his students, finish your education and work and save money and then get married. Why? Because the woman in her father's home, she's the princess, right? The woman in her father's home, her whole life, she never had to worry about rent. Father took care of everything and she was a princess. Whatever she wanted, he got for her. Then comes you. Insha'Allah, we will suffer and we'll struggle together. And it will be difficult in the beginning, but Allah is with us. Who are you, Habibi? You make this woman suffer. She should now from princess become a queen. But now from princess she becomes what? I don't know. The advice of the Imam was, if you can be patient and it's not a problem for you, then finish your studies. Work and then marry and take care of this woman. And if anyone is afraid of falling into zina, the scholars say quickly, go get married and don't worry about it in a case like that. But what about people who can't afford anything and they don't have any ability to get married at this point? To remain chaste, just to be patient. There's no other choice. This is advice to all the brothers and all the sisters and everyone listening, inshallah. Do not joke about zina. And don't share and tell each other jokes about zina. And it's not befitting for a believing man or woman to share jokes about zina. Why? Because what happens now is the least case. We all know the hadith, that when one of you sees a reprehensible act, change it with your hand. If you can't, change it with your tongue. If you can't, change it with your heart. I'm in a position where I can't speak, I can't change, and I'm weak, oppressed, but at least I can hate it here. And if all the believers hate it here, we will resist it growing and becoming rampant in our community. But when everyone's okay with it, this is a problem. The second thing, we spoke about a dangerous topic, and sometimes there may be someone in the audience who has fallen into that sin. So to that person we say, the gates of Tawbah are always open, and no one comes between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. Don't allow the shaitan to trick you with the oldest trick. Oh, you committed this big sin, why are you praying? Why are you worshipping? You're not worth it. Allah doesn't want anything from you. Go away, run away from Allah. The doors of Tawbah are always open, and Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, Allah loves those who always repent, often repenting. In order to always repent, you have to always sin. How are you going to repent if you don't sin? Wait a minute, you're telling me Allah can love someone who always sins if they always repent sincerely? Yes is the answer.